Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between HopeTorture and FruitVendor here on Lost Temple. Here we have HopeTorture spawning as the red Terran at the 8 o'clock position. Meanwhile, across the map we have FruitVendor or Fruit Seller or OGS Cool spawning over here as the blue Zerg. So this will be Zerg versus Terran here on Lost Temple. Will be a pretty interesting matchup as these players have spawned across the map from each other. Excuse me, we do have two Xel'Naga towers in the center of the map, and I do expect a lot of harassment and a lot of fighting that take place in the center of the map for map control. We do already see an Overlord moving out from FruitVendor. FruitVendor scouting out the 12 o'clock position will find that HopeTorture is not there. Back over here, we now see HopeTorture throwing down a 10 supply depot, however, not at the front door. I'm a little bit surprised at that, as Terran baneling busts are always an option, and we'll see how HopeTorture does decide to try to wall off his base. Back over here, we do see one Overlord currently being built, or currently being morphed, excuse me, and then now training 3 additional drones. One supply depot also in the back over here as well. As this game continues, we most likely will see a 12 racks in just a moment, and there we go. SCV already making its way over. Gonna go ahead and throw down that 12 racks and train up an additional SCV. Back over here in the base of FruitVendor continuing to just train up more and more drones, and we may see an early spawning pool. It looks as though we may be going for some sort of hatchery play though. So yeah, it's gonna be a very early hatchery by this drone. One drone now moving out to take his natural expansion already, and as this drone grows up, we'll be able to give a strong economic advantage to FruitVendor. Back over here, we now see that this barracks is about 2/3 of the way completed, and this Overlord now moving out across the map as well. A little surprised that FruitVendor has not sent out an early drone in order to do some scouting, just relying on these Overlords instead. So the FruitVendor moving out with these Overlords will quickly see that there is an SCV here, and most likely HopeTorture does know that FruitVendor has spawned down over here, as this spawning pool is currently being built as well. We do see Marines currently being trained and an upgrade to an orbital command. I do not see any sort of factory play, as a second refinery already going down. Without a tech lab, HopeTorture may be just trying to mass up Marines and then go into a quick tech of tier 2. Now we see one Marine sitting in this position here. Will he try to move out to take down this Overlord? The Overlord is still in the air and should not be able to make it over here in time. However, I do not think that the Marine will be moving out anytime soon. We see one Overlord sitting here. SCV now will be able to gain sight of this natural expansion here as this Overlord continues to fly over towards this cliff. There is currently 2 Marines, and now we also see a factory on this front door as well. So this front door with a barracks and a factory, I do not think, no, units can definitely run through in between these 2 buildings, so that front door is not sealed yet. Back over here, however, the hatchery now training up a queen as well. So 2 queens now being trained as we are running off of 1 gas. This one SCV makes it out alive without taking any real damage, and now gonna go ahead and head back home. Back over here, an Overlord now trying to make its way, as we have one Overlord sitting there watching and gaining sight. We should most likely see some sort of Hellion play in just a moment. And yeah, Hellion currently being trained as we are sitting on a fair amount of gas, almost 300 gas. I'm not sure what exactly HopeTorture wants to do. The starport is probably the best idea at this option at this juncture, as there's nothing really that's going to take that much gas. Marines now moving out to gain sight onto that Overlord. However, that Overlord backing off just in time as these Marines once again coming into position. We do see the barracks once again being laid down, and also a tech lab being thrown down. So that tech lab, as it's being thrown down, we may see some Hellions being trained and then a medevac in order to do some sort of drop. The Hellion now moving out. We do see one spine crawler and 1 queen already in position. Will it be enough to hold off this attack? That queen now pulling back, or along with that Hellion pulling back, the queen does not want to go off that creep. That queen is much slower off of creep. Back over here, the Hellion now gonna come back in with a couple Marines as well, and that may be enough support. So that Hellion now taking some damage. Marines also getting a couple quick hits there. Drones now trying to gain and trying to head back home, making sure that they do not take too much splash damage, as this spine crawler has been completed on the low ground. So continuing to mine up further and further. We are upgrading to tier 2, and we also have a Roach Warren in play. Getting a second extractor as well. Back over here, we have Zerglings now sitting on this front door, a supply depot finishing off this wall in, and now we're training up some medevac. So the medevac will be able to transport some units over here onto this high ground. We already see 1 spine crawler moving off into position, and with 1 Overlord as well. Most likely this medevac will try to pick up this siege tank here, pick up an SCV and 3 Marines. As those 3 Marines get into that medevac as well, they will go ahead and siege up on this ledge. However, we do see an Overlord now spawning creep onto this position, and we are getting a spine crawler. So what this is going to prevent is any sort of early bunkering. The bunkering is really what FruitVendor is concerned about, I believe, as he doesn't want any sort of early bunker into this position. Now moving in, we do see one medevac. That medevac is going to drop the SCV. We do see some spine crawlers already coming into play, and now down goes one spine crawler there. The spine crawler just out of position, and this spine crawler may get shot down as well. However, this Overlord right in a very strong position. This spine crawler going to try to act and give a little bit of protection here. This queen does not have enough energy in order to do any sort of transfusion, so this spine crawler is still taking damage, taking a decent amount of time to root down to 12, and now there it goes, quickly getting destroyed. FruitVendor should not have moved this spine crawler there, as a missile turret now already in position, and now these Marines will be able to shoot down this Overlord with no real issue, as this spine crawler has been taken down. So we may see some Mutalists, however, being trained. Taking a look at this, we are getting the Roach movement upgrade, and I do not see a Spire, and that's going to be a very difficult thing for FruitVendor to try to take care of, as the siege tank starting to blast away at these drones. The siege tank does 50 damage per attack, as this is patch 1.03. No drones down over here in that position, as a second siege tank now going to be up on this cliff as well. So the Zerg player being cliffed by these siege tanks. Siege tanks going to start blasting out at this position, and we're also getting 2 missile turrets. So even if we do get any sort of drone play, that's going to be still very difficult. Are we getting any of the? Yeah, we are getting the movement upgrade and the Roach and the ventral sack, so these Overlords will be able to pick up these Roaches and then move out and perhaps drop onto this position here. As soon as those units are dropped, no medevac, so these Marines will not be able to absorb that much damage. No, the Roaches are not going into the base, not trying to protect that cliff. Instead, we are just going to get a drop straight into the main over here. So there not much in the base. HopeTorture doesn't have any Vikings, only 1 siege tank on that low ground. However, 1 Hellion does catch this, and now a Viking trying to deal some damage towards these Overlords. There are going to be 12 Roaches in the base, just infesting HopeTorture's base in just a moment. And there we go. Roaches now moving out, scampering around, going to be able to take down this siege tank very easily. Down it goes, unable to even get 1 shot of attack out. And now, even though this side has been clipped, we do see 1 medevac now coming back with 2 siege tanks. Will it be enough? We do see now Thor is coming in, trying to shoot down some of these Overlords. However, there are just too many Roaches. A dozen Roaches currently in position, and these Roaches will be able to just pick up and now take down this one Thor. This Thor and currently being repaired by a lot of SCVs. Roaches now trying to take down the SCVs instead, and now being picked up and dropped off once again. So really brilliant medevac dropship plays so far. Just picking up a unit and then dropping it again, and now this one Thor going to be able to finish off this whole entire aggression, and beautifully done by HopeTorture. Wow. So HopeTorture completely just fending off that attack, using brilliant dropship play, using siege tanks and Thors, and now we're going to see the Thor move out and perhaps drop into this position once again. That Thor will have a range of 7. However, FruitVendor now taking expansion at the 12 o'clock position as well. We do see a couple Overlords over here, very low on health, and now the Orbital Command training up some additional SCVs. HopeTorture will be able to saturate his mineral lines very quickly, as he's training from 2 Orbital Commands. Back over here, we see that the barracks has been lifted off. 1 starport, 1 factory, or 2 factories, and 1 barracks at this time, with a couple of Thors, and that is pretty much it. Production wise, more Thors being trained. I don't quite agree with the Spire coming in from FruitVendor, as FruitVendor will not be able to deal that much. In comes that 1 medevac, and that medevac dropping off that Thor able to get off 2 quick hits and then be picked back up once again. Hydralisk probably would be the better unit to counter with at this time, as there's an Overlord on the cliff trying to make sure that FruitVendor can establish this expansion. We do see that the store is now moving out with these siege tanks. Siege tanks moving a little bit more quickly than the store. Siege tanks will be able to start sieging up and then start blasting away at this hatchery, which has just been completed. 1 Hellion over here, 2 siege tanks, and now 1 Thor going to quickly be dropped off. This 1 medevac very low on hit points, and now Thor is just destroying all of these Overlords once again in the air, and FruitVendor definitely in trouble. However, back over here, we do see another Queen and some drones starting to mine out of the 12 o'clock position. The Spire is now up, and I cannot imagine a lot of Mutalist play, just because there are already 2-3 Thors on the map with a couple of these Vikings as well. Back over here, HopeTorture now starting to mine out of this position, and with the orbital command, we'll be able to call down more mules. Taking a look at the harvester count, 39 versus 34, as HopeTorture and catching up in this economic game over here. A couple of drones sitting over here may try to start mining out of this position in just a moment as well, as roaches now are just scampering out across the map. I do not see additional creep tumors, so these roaches will be able to move out very, very quickly. However, HopeTorture is very, very fortified in this position. 5 siege tanks, 3 Thors, a very decent sized army, 1900 middle army with 1400 gas. Over here, all of these drones sitting idle for far too long, starting to mine once again. Production wise, we see what the Zerg flyer attack level 1, but I do not see any mutalisks anywhere. Not quite sure why he's getting the flyer attack without those mutalisks just quite yet, but he is going to be able to mass up to 8 mutalisks in just a moment. We do see some roaches now on the ground. The roaches do not have burrow. We do have 3 Thors, 5 siege tanks, and 1 Viking currently in play. That's more than enough to deal with these roaches until they get burrow and are able to move while burrowed. But even if they're able to move while burrowed, there is 1 detector coming in from this missile turret. Back over here, we now see a transition into mass marines. So if you take a look at this, 4 racks with mass marines will be able to be produced, and there are no combat shields or stim packs being researched for those marines, so those marines are not going to be able to stick around for too long, as they're not going to be able to deal that much damage or take that much damage as well. 1 Viking now trying to chase down this overlord. Overlord has nothing in it, gonna run head on into a missile turret and quickly get shot down there. HopeTorture now sitting at 46 harvesters compared to 48 harvesters for FruitVendor. HopeTorture has been dominating this whole entire game. Will he be able to finish this up with this very, very strong mechanized army? We have siege tanks, Thors, and Vikings moving out once again. These roaches trying to scamper away, trying to get away from those Crucio shock cannons or Thor's hammers, and dealing so much damage. SCVs also coming along for the ride in order to heal up and repair all of those Thors. Now we see these roaches with a movement speed of 3 may be able to circumnavigate all of these units and now come back and perhaps pick off some of these units here. So 2 of those SCVs now getting taken down, and siege tanks trying to blast over here. This 1 Thor getting caught out of position, taking a fair amount of damage, however picked up at the last moment. Nicely done. We see a couple of low hit point siege tanks here. Production wise, we see 3 mutalisks, more marines, and more Thors now being trained up, as this hatchery is going to be in trouble. We see a lot of Zerglings now being trained. Will it be enough? Whoa, Overlord picking up a queen at just the right moment, now dropping it off as that Overlord gets shot down, and down goes that queen as well. So this army just simply attack moving and will be able to deal a lot of damage towards these units. Zerglings now trying to come out, trying to swarm and take down more of these Thors, but those Thors able to easily handle this with marine support, taking down those Zerglings. We have some 3 mutalisks in the air army wise, 2175 versus 3550, and will it be enough? We see more units continuing to move out, and some Zerglings now getting shot down as well. I do not see any sort of harassment in the base of HopeTorture, so really all of these mutalisks just trying to take down the rest of these Thors. There is 1 Viking in the air, and this is just going to be a race. Will it be enough? Those mutalisks are not stacked up on top of each other, so they are not taking up too much splash damage, and now able to take down one more of those Thors as more Thors join in on this fight. This is going to be a very, very interesting fight back and forth. However, that last mutalisk unable to take down these last 2 Thors, as another Thor joins in on this fight, and FruitVendor says GG. So FruitVendor putting a lot of early pressure, taking a lot of early pressure from HopeTorture, getting cliffed 2 to 3 times. However, FruitVendor did come back with a very strong 12 roach drop into the base. However, HopeTorture using metavacs and using siege tanks very well, constantly picking up and dropping off those units, were able to just fend off the attack and minimize the amount of damage that FruitVendor was planning to do. I don't know how many times this hatchery over here at the natural expansion was taken down, and even though FruitVendor was able to try to establish an additional expansion over here at the 12 o'clock and at the 10 o'clock position, that still wasn't enough to handle the mechanized army of HopeTorture. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between FruitVendor and HopeTorture here on Lost Temple.